Hello, this is David Kozich, Chief Spiritual Officer of the Lovemakers Foundation, a 501c3 charity whose purpose is to bring love to the world, and just as importantly, to bring love to each and every person on the planet, which is what Deborah and I try and do with our love makers and everyone we meet. You at least spread the word of love, or to help a person progress on that path to what I term absolute love. Today's love message is the culmination of so many life experiences, so many things that I've observed and studied, so many things that have occurred to me personally. It was actually very difficult to get a topic. But I had a couple of major influences. Deborah and I were traveling this last week up into the Sierras in Bishop, California. Then we went to visit my daughter up in Carson City, Nevada. And along that strip, some very magical occurrences, looking at the Sierras, meditating. And I'll share what I would consider a profound experience later on in this love message. But today's love message is titled, Love, the Power That Makes You Unbreakable. And when I say that, I'm not just talking about the resilience, but I'm also talking about pushing your life forward so that you are able to live life to the fullest. It's a love that's going to carry you through anything. It's a love that's going to connect you with your highest self. It's a love that is going to allow you to live each and every moment of your life with meaning and fulfillment. It's a life that embraces the difficulties of life, that embraces the joy of life. It's a love where you seek your best self. It's a love that you live your life to the fullest, no matter what. That you live with courage, no matter what. One of the influences, and again, I watch a lot of documentaries, I read a lot, I play a lot of pickleball, Deborah and I drive a lot, we experience things, we travel. But one of the influences for this love message is the life of Rafa Nadal, the great tennis player. I bring him up because even though he wasn't trained necessarily with, that type of love, I would think he was trained with what we would call tough love. As his career developed and the injuries mounted on, he changed his perspective. He decided to do more self-love, to get a broader view of the world, and that prolonged his career. But here was a man who every second of his life he gave to tennis. He gave to playing 100%, giving everything, his mind, his heart, his body, and his soul to the professional sport of tennis, and became one of the greatest champions ever. Won 22 Grand Slam finals, which would include the Australian Open, Wimbledon, French Open, and of course, the US Open. But there was a drive in him, a courage in him, that even when he had doubts, he pressed on with total faith in himself. And again, he never gave up. Even when his body was declining, he fought with courage. But as he evolved as an adult, he learned to love, whether it was his wife, his child, his children now. He evolved and found the power of love, where he consciously realized that power of love in here. But he was always very family oriented because he had a lot of love around him. And it protected him as he went through his tennis career. But the lesson to be learned is that he had the courage to show up fully, 100%, when it was necessary. It's not the outcome. And he even said, I don't want to be called a winner. I want to be called a competitor. And that's what I'm conveying to you this moment. Live life to the fullest. Give it a 100%. Be who you want to be. Have the courage to face adversity. And regardless of the outcome, you will find that connection. You will find a connection beyond your belief. Now, there's another different type of courage. Perhaps a more basic courage. When Deborah and I were driving south from Carson City, and I know we had passed this place many times, there was a place called Manzanar. Manzanar was a little town at the turn of the century, in the 20th century, but it became for lack of a better term, almost like a Japanese concentration camp. I think they called it a relocation center. Now, I first became attuned to the Japanese plight of what happened to the Japanese Americans, literally, during World War II, when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. And about 25 years ago, I read a book and saw a movie called Snow Falling on Cedar, which is about a love story between a young Caucasian boy and a Japanese girl in high school. He went off to war to fight the Japanese, and she was sent to a relocation center in Manzanar, where she fell in love. And then after the war and later on in life, things happen, and we find that in the end, love did triumph. But Deborah and I were coming south, and I was tired. I wanted to get home. We had been on the road for 3 or 4 days, and we had passed Manzanar. We had driven by Manzanar at least 15 to 20 times over the last 5 or 6, 7 years. And I always talked about it, but we never stopped. It's funny, I said, Deborah, let's just give it a shot. And so we did. We took a little road tour of the Manzanar, where the Manzanar barracks used to be primarily. But what moved me is just the story. And Deborah and I ended up at a little Japanese memorial. And there were about 5 graves where the Japanese, I think about 150 had died between 1942 and 1945. When the Japanese were uprooted from their homes, their property ended up being stolen for the most part, separated from their lives, sent to relocation centers, and then after they were released, they were sent back to where they used to be, but a lot of times there was nothing there for them. So what happened? Well, what I know and what I felt as Deborah and I did a prayer and an affirmative prayer and a meditation at this Japanese memorial at Manzanar, which resonated their courage and their love. Because despite being relatively confined to a base, and there were actually guard towers there, and I don't believe hardly anybody was, I don't think anyone was actually found to be a spy. But that's what fear does. Over 150,000 Japanese, 2/3 were citizens, others were living in America on the West Coast, were transferred to these relocation centers, just uprooted. But Deborah and I stopped by this little memorial. We got out, we prayed, and I felt that energy. The 10,000 plus people who were at Manzanar, or who were forced into these barbed wire camps for no crime other than their ancestry. And they lost their homes and business and freedom, but in one of the inspiration for this love message is Deborah and I felt that energy. And we thanked our highest selves, we thank God for our ability to feel the love at Manzanar. Because the Japanese imprisoned there formed communities, got married, had babies, and developed community. They didn't lose themselves inside those fences. They still honored their elders and again formed families with courage. They held on to their dignity and their humanity even when the world failed to honor the Japanese Americans. This is unbreakable love. This is the power of love I'm talking about, the power that you never give up. Because love, the love I'm talking about, says that you can confine my body, but you're not going to imprison the love and the spirit of love in my heart. The people of Manzanar remind us that love is not defeated by injustice. Love becomes deeper, stronger, more luminous in the face of injustice. And look at Nelson Mandela, who I've discussed several times over the years of these love messages, a man who was in prison for over 25 years. And what happens when he came out to lead South Africa? He led with love. It shouldn't be a rarity, should it? But what we see in today's world, there's an absence of love leadership. There's an absence even in everyday living of living in love. Embrace love. There are three things that are forces that will help you and help the world adapt and adopt to a love paradigm. Number one, awareness, which is the moment you see your own patterns and choose not to be ruled by them. It's the beginning of freedom to see the expansiveness and the beauty of love. The second point is choice. The love I'm talking about is a choice. The choice to be thankful, the choice to be gracious, the choice to be kind, the choice to be compassionate, the choice to be courageous. Love is a choice. Well, in romantic love, it's not always a choice. Sometimes you're overwhelmed by chemistry and passion, whatever. But that's part of love too. But love is expansive. But the type of love I'm talking about, the path to spiritual love, the path to self-love, the path to being love is a choice. Also, the third force is presence. Presence is where love is. This moment. I speak to you from absolute love. Unconditional, powerful, infinite love. I love you. I want you to love. I want you to love yourselves. I want you to love and see the spark of love in everyone. I want you to do your best to become love. Because when you're present in love, you're unbreakable because you're rooted in the only moment that truly exists for us, and that's this one. Well, life's going to test your love. It's going to test you. I've been tested, but I've discovered that I can walk the talk. That my goal is to bring love to the world and to change humanity in the paradigm from fear, from materialism to love. These tests here for you are not here to break you. They're here to review you. Every setback is an invitation to become love. Because love is going to make you unbreakable because it's going to take you to your true identity, which is love. You are love. Dear God, this moment we experience the infinite force of love in our lives. We experience the tremendous overflow of God's love. We experience ourselves as the power of the Christ, as the power of the Buddha, as the power of Muhammad, as the power of all that is, this love, this moment. And we live this moment in love and choose love and enhance our lives in every way. This moment, I declare this is absolute truth and release it into the universe. So it is so. Amen. to live in love doesn't necessarily require grand gestures. It just requires you to live with courage and confidence in yourself. So go in love as we start to kick off this summer in June 2026. Know that my love and Deborah's love are with you all. And check out our website. Check out these videos on YouTube, Love Makers Foundation. And it's going to change your life. But go in love, be love, teach love, share love, receive love, and know that you are love. And remember, love is the way.